Yo, what is going on, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Pitch Podcast, the beautiful game of life, part of the Believe Network. I'm Ramsey Abushala, editor of urbanpitch.com. Julio Matarosa, executive director of Vibes, second week in a row. What's going on, Julio?
It's a special episode. We have a special guest, and it's Ramsey's birthday today.
Oh, he's making it hot out there. Okay.
Yeah, it's Ramsey's birthday today, so it's going to be a fun episode.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But like you said, very special episode because we have a repeat guest returning to the show, this time in person. He's recently relocated to LA. Jeremy Ebobisse, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming back.
It's good to be here. Can't believe you're spending your birthday with me, but
no other place I'd rather be. No, I've been working all day today. It was a long birthday, but just
gotta keep it
gotta
going
get through it. Yeah. Well, we got some fun stuff planned after this. So, but. Once again, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in person. It's great to have you back. It's always good to have repeat guests back on because we can kind of get into the stuff that we didn't get into the first time. But first off, how's LA? How are you getting settled in and everything? What are your initial thoughts moving to the new city?
yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of LA just growing up, had a lot of youth national team camps here, played a lot of games against the Galaxy and LAFC, so felt like I had a little bit of a feel for the city, but until you get here and actually start to live and drive through the traffic on a regular basis, you really don't understand what you're getting into. And for me, it's just been an amazing experience kind of settling in, getting into my apartment, getting to know some of the fans on a loose basis at some of the games, and more than that, getting closer to the team. I think the preseason has been kind of a quick build-up. I think we had about 4.5-5 weeks to our first game, but we really got to know each other quite well on and off the field, and I think that's only going to grow and allow us to hit our goals.
You're talking about that LA traffic. Rule of thumb is 5 miles is 45 minutes. So
yesterday I did 15 miles in an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, hour
45. From Santa Monica back to downtown. So
The
in the afternoon.
So crazy. Last year, about 2 years ago, I was living in Santa Monica and had to come film the pod all the way here. So it was about an hour and 20 minutes I was spend on the way here. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
I pulled up Google Maps, and it just said, all right, get on the highway, red, all the way down. Like, not like red, yellow, red, like just red. I'm like.
Yeah, that whole 10 is going to be red until you get to nowhere. Like, you have to be
you have to get past, like, towards East LA at that point, but by the time it starts
it's
to
all red all the way going down, that 10. It's crazy.
Yeah. But we know all about it, being from here, but you did have a, good start to the season, the first game, opening weekend last Saturday. But talk about the build up to the season. You mentioned, it's kind of a quick preseason camp, you do the Coachella thing. Like, what is it like joining a new team and the camaraderie and being an MLS vet, knowing a bunch of the guys already, but talk about just that, like, initial period of getting to know the team. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting resource. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Yeah, I think joining a new team is always a different challenge based on the team that you're joining. I think in San Jose, I was coming in mid-season. The expectations were that, the trades that were made at the deadline would help propel the team to the playoffs. It didn't work that year. I ended up actually getting a pretty significant injury and missing out a lot of time. But you don't have as much time to integrate yourself because you don't have this extended preseason. You don't have, weekends off where you can go bond and, do team trips. It's really... So the Quakes actually played Portland on a Wednesday night, and then I was on a flight that Thursday to play in a game against LAFC, ironically, on Saturday.
Wow.
So things went really quickly. I don't feel like I really got to experience the fullness of that locker room and some of those relationships that ended up kind of fading as guys moved on that year. I probably didn't get to maximize. This is a little bit different, even though it was a short-ish preseason. It was an extended period of time to get to know my teammates on and off the field. We had, different types of bonding nights, game nights. A lot
escape
of
rooms or
no escape rooms. I'll highlight the game night because there's a little controversy. People think I'm a bad poker player.
Okay.
The truth is, I'm a strategic player. I'm a slow player. I'm a slow bettor.
Yeah.
I don't like to take a lot of risks, but
Okay.
and I don't like to reveal my cards. So if I have the chance to fold,
Right. You're not
knowing,
showing. Right.
yeah, if I have the chance to fold before the river,
All right.
and I know that I need to fold, I'm gonna fold. I'm not one of
Yeah.
these like just
Yeah.
flip the cards so that people can laugh. No.
Right, right,
Like,
right.
people will never know.
That
what I'm
gives
doing.
away, you know. Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
So, anyone can gamble with fake money.
Yeah.
It was fake money on the evening. So, one of these hands, I just threw it all in and decided it was my time to get out and try a different game. So people think I'm a bad poker player, but that's not true. And then, it's the camaraderie that's kind of built in nights like those that I think will carry us through the year, and hopefully we get more of that going. But on the field, I think we've incorporated a lot of new guys coming from all over the place. We've got guys coming from Scotland, got guys coming from within MLS. We have got guys that came in late last season who are still continuing to get integrated because they didn't have that period of time to get to know the team. And the result is something that's continuing to be refined. I think the first game in Colorado was challenging conditions. Yeah. They execute on their set pieces. Luckily for us, we executed in the home tie. But winning our first game of the MLS season at home puts us on the right path where we can get results and focus on what the performances look like in the future.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that goal because it was one heck of a goal. Seeing Boanga run to the sideline, I was like, all right, this can be something right now. So I wanted him to cross the ball to Nathan earlier, so I was screaming. I don't think he heard me.
Yeah.
But I was like, cross.
I think he did.
So he got stuck in a little wall. Luckily, he gave it to Nathan. Nathan gave you that pass back. What were you thinking before you even shot?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on as that play was developing. One, I knew I was coming out soon. And two, it's just the end of a game. My first extended minutes in the season, and so a little bit of fatigue is starting to kick in, and that's where kind of you try to switch from physical output to mental output. And in that moment, it was really just about finding the right space, knowing that maybe I didn't have everything that I had in the first minute. And Nate had kind of taken the initiative to take that run down the middle. The knee was flying, and if you guys have watched LAFC enough to know that it's tough as a defender to keep up with the knee. It's also hard as his teammate because you got to read that movement, and he's fast. He dribbles arguably faster with the ball than he might run without it. He's that fast. And so, yeah, just being able to watch the play develop from a little bit behind allowed me to pick a space where I was always looking for that cutback towards the top of the 18. I thought it might actually come from Boanga himself, but for it to go through Nate, I think they did a very good job of attracting all the players to that side of the field. I think Boanga had 3 guys on him. Nate had another guy. So by then, I just had to beat my guy to this space, and the shot worked out.
No, yeah, we were in the stadium. It was crazy because I think I was around friends, my brother. Before you even shot, we just saw your body. We're like, goal. And then we have a whole thing don't call it before the shot because they're gonna miss. Guys. Yeah, but we were then we looked at each other what a banger, and started celebrating. So that was fun. That was a fun experience at the stadium, seeing that first LAFC goal for you.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I think that's one of the spots that I really like to be in. It's tough as a striker because you are making that first post run a lot, and that's what the team needs. Sometimes you'll get that ball in the first post and have a chance to finish. Other times it's a decoy run, but I do really like the kind of flat ball across the PK spot coming in from the left-hand side. And, yeah, to score on behalf of LAFC as opposed to against LAFC, which I had done in the past, it's a better feeling. There's different ways to experience.
Because there was questions at the beginning of the season because Bogus leaving, he was a big part of the team last year. So they were like, how is this front line going to work? And you guys have been doing your thing, so that's always good.
Well, I don't think we've fully answered that question yet, and it's game 1, game 2.
Sure.
And so I don't think very many teams know exactly what the 34th game of the MLS regular season is going to look like. I think what we want to see is just continuing progress every single game. We want to see continued chemistry. We understand we have a deep squad, a vastly experienced squad, whether it's MLS experience, European experience, national team experiences. And so how do we highlight the different but individual qualities of each player so that whoever's on the field can go out and execute and get us the 3 points or get us through to the next round of a tournament. We hope that this is a long season. We hope that we make deep runs in CONCACAF Champions League and Leagues Cup in the playoffs. And in order to do that successfully, then you have to be able to rely upon a big squad, because we know that the season bears injuries, bears dips in form, and different guys need to be ready to step up. This first game of the year, I was able to do that, but it's gonna be on other people too.
Yeah. I mean, and with all the new competitions coming in to the, Leagues Cup was added a couple years ago. Champions Cup is getting kind of bigger, and LAFC has always done. They've made it like part of their goals to win as many cups as possible. Whereas you see, some other teams, like they'll rotate players for certain competitions, but you really do need to have very deep rosters. Like you look at in Europe for all the competitions they have, 3 or 4, positions deep of very quality players. How, you mentioned the team is built for a deep run, and we've talked about this even in years past, where it looks like LAFC, they know they want to build their roster for longer seasons. What is it like in that, training ground or in the locker room, knowing that, okay, there's a lot of competition, one, but number two, there's a lot of talent on the roster. What's that like, just from an experience perspective?
Yeah, well, you talk about how rosters are built in Europe, and I think the main difference is that they don't have the same constraints in terms of salary cap and roster regulations. So they are able to pay players in a certain way that'll attract them, even if the role might not be exactly what they want on paper, because most players are going to back themselves. That's why they're professionals to begin with. You even look at Mexico. We played Club America in the last preseason game of the year, and I remember looking at the team that started the game. It looked like a little bit of a mix of their starting and second unit. And then I looked at the team that came on at halftime, and I was like, yeah, that team is capable of withstanding whatever comes. Now, what the performances look like is based on the individual day, but they should never look at a game during the season and say we don't have the players to execute. And I think that's a challenge that MLS teams face, especially when you talk about CONCACAF Champions League and not wanting to punt any games. LAFC doesn't want to punt any games. We want to win every single game, which means that we're going to put out the lineup that we think is best suited to win that game. Now, it might not be the quote-unquote starters or the first team that started the year, but it's going to be the team that has the tactical advantage, that has the physical advantage, and has the mental advantage, and that's going to be a mixed bag. So that presents a lot of opportunities for us as players. We get to training. We know that every game is the chance for a new roster. We know that how we train gives us a better chance to get selected versus some other teams that don't rotate at all, and it's exciting. I think the most success that I've had as a team has always been in teams that have been competitive. I think back to 2017, winning the Western Conference regular season with Portland. We had a pretty talented squad then. 2018, going to MLS Cup. We went through different formations throughout the year, different personnel. Guys who started the year completely out of the mix, myself included, were starting at the end of the year. So, it keeps us on our toes. If we happen to be starting, we know that we can't be complacent, and if we're not, then it gives us something to work towards.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of talk, even from players, about not being able to maintain the same roster year to year because, of the salary cap constrictions and the way the rosters are formed. The turnover is maybe higher in MLS than in other leagues, and you've experienced a few roster changes in your career. How do you deal with that as a player? And we've talked about, with other players that have been traded, they know it's something that's on the mind, especially come, trade deadline time. But how do you deal with that as a player, knowing that, okay, I could be another place at another time at any given point of the season?
Yeah, I think as you look at the start of your journey in a certain place, you know what it takes in order to earn the right to stay in that place. And if you earn the right to stay, then it almost gives you the opportunity to decide whether you do want to stay or not, because contracts have a certain amount of time. Also, political dynamics between players and club dictate how long someone's going to stay as much as form or desires to stay. Where you run the risk of being traded out of nowhere is if a team comes in with a price that's just too good to turn down, and we've seen that in MLS. Another time is if you're underperforming and there's an opportunity to just do better and to get
fresh,
better.
yeah.
So as a player, you really just need to focus on yourself, focus on maximizing every opportunity. You know that these windows only happen a few times a year, but you also know that ultimately you're working towards the end of the season, which provides a lot of turnover. So if you didn't perform over the body of an entire season, you know that the club might not be fully satisfied with what you brought to the table, what they might have expected, and they might look for solutions to that. That solution might mean saying, hey, he was new to the team, he just got integrated, it was a tough year for those reasons, let's give him another, half a season to figure it out. Or it might be, hey, let's see how we can move on from this player. I've seen it as the teammate who has stayed and who has seen a lot of guys go, and I myself have been traded. I myself have left on a free agency. It's part of what we sign up for, and leaving a place creates new opportunities elsewhere.
Yeah, and you've done a good job of integrating yourself with the community wherever you went, and something we talked about last time in the Bay Area, in Portland, even in Maryland, where you're born and raised. Where, I know it's still early on in your LA tenure, but have you looked into getting into stuff like that off the field in terms of community initiatives and things like that?
100%. It's a non-starter for me, I think. As professional athletes, we open so many doors for ourselves, and we have the choice to bring people in with us. We have access to so many brand sponsors, club partners, and just general dollars and equipment and allocation that individuals outside of our ecosystem wouldn't otherwise have. And what we find is that a lot of these partners are looking for ways to disseminate all that into the community.
Sure, yeah.
They just don't really have the strategy fully fleshed out. And so that's something that I take a lot of pride in trying to find, the way to be a good conduit for all that. I actually have some projects that were in the works in LA ahead of me coming here.
Cool.
They're a little bit private, but I will allude to, a mini pitch being built out here, a turf pitch, somewhere. Yeah, I don't want to get too specific.
No, yeah, definitely no.
But
especially growing up here,
exciting.
Up here, like all the fields are usually like closed up. There's nowhere really to go play, and it sucks because there's a lot of talent out here. There's a lot of young kids. Me growing up, playing around all these parks in LA, it's a lot of talent, but there's nowhere where we like. When I was playing in college, I had to literally jump the gate just to get my workout in prior to going back to school. So it's always great to see that those projects come to life because you see these kids. I try to go play with them. I can't no more. I'm like, yeah, I got that. Yeah. But you see these kids how happy they are and how had a chance now to. They don't have to do anything. They can go to any field. Like there's a few fields that have been opening up, and they can just go there and have fun, play pickup with their friends, enjoy the day, play a little foodie, talk a little trash back and forth. But that's always great to see.
Yeah. What's crazy is what you said. Like a lot of these fields are closed up.
Yeah.
I saw I was sent a picture by the project manager that some of the fields actually had no soccer signs.
Yeah.
I'm like how in a city like LA, with a population that just loves the sport. You got 2 major league teams here in the sport. You got international competition that's been coming here for as long as I can remember. You have the U.S. national team that was based here for a very long time. How is it possible that one of the hotbeds of this sport, would have no soccer signs on some of these grass and turf areas? So
because Julio's out there double slide tackling guys and getting in fights. They don't want the fights that come with the soccer.
Now, one time we were talking trash on the pod, and I said I stopped playing because I get a little too mad. Yeah. If I'm losing, I'm a sore loser. And somebody commented yeah, I just played against him. He got a red. I'm like, man,
he's out here.
It happens. It happens. But I mean,
it's a mistake.
The biggest thing I would say to the project that I'm hoping comes to life soon, and definitely before the World Cup, if everything goes well, is that it's tough as an individual to do one project and then try to do another one and then try to do another one. The money, depending on where you're at, depending on how on the ground you are, can be slow to come by. Even if everyone's head and heart is in the right place, I just ask myself, how can this be more uniform, right? So the hope is that a couple pilot projects in different markets inspires, a brand partner to be like, I'm all in on this. Mm-hmm. Let's do 10 of these. Let's make it in a streamlined fashion so that, we're not wasting time and doing 10 over 10 years, but we can isolate one, let's say LA as a market, get 10 pitches in, focus on 10 different neighborhoods, get the same vendor to do all these things. Like that's really my goal, to like shed light, get some FOMO going, because people hate to be, the one missing out, and then seeing where we can go from there. I hope to be here for a long time. I have to earn the right to stay on a team like LAFC that's demanding, competitive, and ambitious. Those are the main reasons that I joined this club. But if I'm here as long as I want to be, then I like to think that there will be a big impact on the community too.
And that's great. I think you guys are a great fit because they're community based as well. They like being in the community. They like showing face at all times. So a club like that with a person like you that likes to create these projects, help out in these projects, I think is a great fit.
I'm looking forward to it. It's day one, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and was that something that you took into consideration when you were looking at potential like landing spots for the season?
I would say I looked at the outside of off-field market at large as something that I was taking very seriously. I had offers to go to Europe. I had offers to go down south to Mexico. But when LAFC came calling, it was kind of a no-brainer. I mean, I've played against them for 8 years since they've been in the league, and I knew what it meant to play for this club on the field. And I could see kind of the game day environment and how representative it was of the city, that, they didn't just want to sell the tickets at maximum price and make sure that people can't go to games. It seems like there's a little bit of everyone represented at these stadiums. Hopefully we can continue to make it even more representative, or bring in new fans who maybe weren't historically a part of the sport of soccer. But when I saw a city as big as LA, the amount of brands that are here, the amount of opportunity that lies off the field, I felt like this was a good opportunity to kind of spread into some of my off-field passions, whether it's on the business side or on the nonprofit side. Yeah, and then you mentioned, seeing the LAFC experience from a first-hand perspective on the other side. What was it like suiting up for the team and coming out with those fans cheering behind you instead of against you? It was special. It was special. I mean, the goal kind of highlighted how special it was, and seeing the uproar in the stadium. It's something I haven't really felt since I was in Portland, frankly. In terms of the size of the stadium, how full it was on the given day. It was so special. I think there's an expectation when you come into this locker room that you find a way to win. Not only do you need to find a way to win, but you need to do it in a fashionable way, right? Like it's not always enough to just get the 1-0 win. So we're hoping that we can be entertaining, get more goals, keep clean sheets. But the underlying importance is finding a way to win at all times. And it's going to be a good test for us these next few weeks. I mean, we have a good New York City team that, had a tough game against Miami, but, came away with some points. We have the Crew, who obviously have had some success against LAFC of late in pretty heartbreaking fashion. And I think that's on everyone's mind, whether you're talking about the club staff, the fans, the players. And as someone who's been in this ecosystem, I've been able to track it. And now that I'm wearing these colors, I take that personally. And I have some ex-teammates on the Crew. I have an ex-teammate who actually beat me in MLS Cup. So it's, there's always micro stories within the bigger battles, and we're going to be tested these next few weeks, and we hope to respond. I think the like interconnectivity between different teams in the league, like it's even with the expansion with 30 teams, there still is I played with you here, or we know each other from this rivalry, or like you said, we were teammates and then you beat me in an MLS Cup. Is there not like a fraternity, but do you feel like a type of bond to just all MLS players in general from a league perspective, going through some of the challenges and the long season, the travel, the physicality, having going through all those experiences together? Is there like a type of bond that you feel with some of these other players? Yeah, there's definitely a bond because of the turnover. For one, you're gonna have a bond with guys, whether you play with someone for 6 months or for 10 years. You share very acute emotional moments with that player, whether you're fighting in training over losing a small-sided game or over a late tackle, or you're celebrating winning, in my case, the bubble tournament. There are memories that you'll always look back on as soon as you lock eyes with someone like that. I also look to youth national teams and just like where you grew up playing youth soccer. that usually is going to tie you to those people forever. So I played with Eric Williamson growing up, against him a lot. Virginia, Maryland, ODP, you know, we used to compete. Then we played together on the PDL teams, or USL League 2, I suppose. And then youth national teams as well. Like, that's a guy that I had the chance to play with in Portland, but no matter where, like, we know that we're bonded. A guy like Miles Robinson, same thing, you know, played with him in youth national teams. So between those two and then just the general MLSPA, I mean, the MLSPA understands that while we fight on a weekly basis and there can only be one winner at the end of the year, we are also fighting for, you know, our representation and our rights as a player pool, as a labor group. And so there are individual moments in which we get to connect with folks and just see how they think, see how they live, see what's important to them. And when those values are aligned, then relationships form in different ways. But I often I watch a lot of NBA, and when I see some of the greats like LeBron or KD or Steph, when I see them in particular, but a few others like Draymond, and when I see them battle against like their boys and their best friends on other teams, it's always a harder battle than against someone that they don't really know, right? And the dap after the game is always harder than the dap with a random person. And so that's kind of how I liken some of the relationships that we have in this league. Like, we love each other. We're going to go hard against each other. We're going to try and take each other's goals away. But at the end of the day, it is love, it is brotherhood, and we look forward to kind of building new memories.
Yeah. As a striker, is there a center back or a defender that you particularly relish going up against?
Yeah, I'm not here to create any bulletin board material, so I'm a
smart. That's a veteran response.
So when you see somebody, when do you say barbecue chicken? Oh, this is a go for sure.
I do think MLS needs a little more of that, but I'm not gonna be the one to do it.
That's for you guys to do.
That is funny. So now that you're like, any places you've been to that you're like, all right, new foods have you tried? Because there's a lot of diversity here.
In terms of food out here?
Yeah. Something you tried, something new that you've tried out here, food, whatever it may be.
I'm gonna have to report back to you on that. Like, we've been playing games Tuesday, Saturday. It feels like I'm just trying to eat as quickly as possible and get back in. But I've been to some of the Arts District restaurants. I'm in and around the area, so been enjoying those. Cha Cha Cha.
Oh yeah, that's the spot. Julio's got the hookup there.
Yeah, you got the hookup. Yep. Right, well, let me know then.
I got you.
Bone marrow esquites.
Bone marrow esquites is our favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'll connect you to the guy.
Yeah.
He manages the place. He's a friend.
There's Love and Salt out in Manhattan Beach. I was staying.
Oh yeah.
I was staying in Torrance earlier on, so I was just kind of exploring kind of the west side a little bit. But I'm looking forward to more. Like, I'm a amateur foodie, so we'll see what I get into soon.
Especially in the Arts District, I think we've been to every restaurant around here.
Yeah, we've been looking for new places. We record in the Arts District, so like every pod, just dinner, and so we've seen places come and go.
Yeah.
This place around the corner has been like under construction for like 3 years, so they finally opened. But yeah, we can get you some recs. But what's like your go-to cuisine? Is there like a certain place in the world that you like their food?
Honestly, I like all foods. Like I don't just say that to say that. Like, I like Mexican food. I like Spanish food. I like French food. I was born in France, so I mean that's always had a special place. I would love to find like a West or Central African restaurant in the city. I think that's been tough for me to find in most markets I've been in, which Portland, Bay Area, and now LA. Yeah. I have a place in DC. That place actually it's gone through ups and downs itself. But yeah, I think West and Central African food, specifically Cameroonian, but it's kind of small. So much easier to find a Nigerian restaurant than a Cameroonian restaurant. But what I'm really looking for is the best chocolate croissant as well. Like I said, born in France, chocolate croissants are a big part of my family and my upbringing. And so every city I feel like I find one place that, when it's time to treat myself, I can take good care of myself. Yeah. Haven't quite found that here, but we also have a lot of French players on our team. And so I've asked a couple of them, and it doesn't sound like they've really nailed it either, although...
You ask any French, person where, because I have French cousins, and like when they come out here, we'll like take them. Oh, like this French bakery is good, and they're just like, man, this is terrible. This is horrible. Like there's no, but they're very particular about, especially their cuisine.
It's very true, and when you think about the fact that in France you can buy a chocolate croissant for €1.
Yeah.
To see like a $6-7 chocolate croissant here, the expectation from guys like that, it gets a little bit unfair and unrealistic. But my aunt is a pastry chef, and she has done a great job. So my standards are pretty high, but I recognize good work. There's a place in San Francisco called Butter and Crumble. They actually have the longest line I think I've ever seen for a food related item. Once waited. I'm not going to say how long I waited, but let's just say it's possible to wait an hour and 45 minutes for pastries.
Yeah, so the thing is with especially pastries, every good spot they'll have a super long line. So you get there, it's just like, do I really want that? Like, how bad do I actually want to spend $6 for a chocolate croissant? So
let me tell you, when you know that a place has a long line, you show up and the whole event is an activity. Line waiting, you show up with like a group of 1 or 2 people. You guys catch up for like 20 to however long the line is. You guys snack on your pastry. You go on a walk afterwards, and it's a morning.
It's an activity. You make an activity.
It's a full activity. You're not going in and out. It's nothing casual. There are places for that too. But if you want the good things in life, you gotta wait and you gotta pay off. So.
I'm Salvadorian, so one of our holiday meals is pan con pollo. This is a French baguette with chicken and sauce on top. There's this place on Crenshaw in Washington that my mom and my family have been going for years, but every time it's a 3-hour wait just to get those breads. I'm like, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Can we just go somewhere else?
But it does, though. It
does. So I'm the one waiting those 3 hours. I'm like, I got to do this every Thanksgiving.
I mean, I don't know what the waiting policy is there, but there's different ways to hack it. You can put your name down, go for a walk. Like if you're in the area, if you have friends in the area, go to their place. They'll text you.
Yeah. They had an app that you could like sign somebody up. Someone would wait in line for you for a certain play. I don't know if that's still around, but that was around for a while.
This place is old school. It's still cash.
Cash only.
Cash only.
That's a green flag.
Okay.
But there's a lot of good food in LA, especially if you like Southeast Asian, like a lot of good Thai food. So yeah, we can get you some recommendations, especially.
I'm all ears, especially anything on like the eastern part of the city.
Yeah. I feel like that's like a lot of the good, like Silver Lake, Elko Park.
Yeah.
I don't know. The people in Santa Monica yesterday were telling me that Santa Monica has the good foods.
I feel like that's a Santa Monica thing.
I live there. It's all right. It gets boring after a while. And there's like a few good restaurants, but they just come and go too fast.
Okay.
So they either succeed or they don't. So, but honestly, I will love like Silver Lake, Echo Park area.
Yeah,
way more than Santa Monica. There's a lot of hole in the wall spots, a lot of new chefs. There are matching up 2 different type of foods and to make it into one fusion meals.
A little fusion.
Yeah, so you'll see a kimchi pupusa. I'm like, what's going on here?
Those are things you only find on the West Coast, man. That sounds like a Portland dish. Portland is fusion city.
I know,
There's a barbecue place in Portland that does Thai.
Yeah,
and
don't start. That's my place, Eam.
Yeah, dude, that place is so good. It's incredible. So, the white curry with the brisket.
Yep, or the Massaman curry. So let me tell you.
Oh my God, dude.
After I got traded, my first game back, like Eric was like out hurt that year, and he was like, "Yo, like if you need Eam, I got you." And so he actually went to pick up Eam and then left it in my locker for after the game. I was like, that's one of those places you have to wait for a while, but we used to do it. We used to get a little crew, and food brings people together, so it's worth the wait.
Yeah. Do you cook as well, or are you just a consumer?
I'm capable of cooking. I'm capable of cooking for myself.
Okay.
I'm not cooking for anyone else, mostly because I respect their health, and I respect I like to protect what they think of me.
Right. Okay.
So
that's how I feel the same way. I'm not the best cook. I'll make something for me, but other than that, I'm ordering takeout because I worry about you.
Yeah.
As well.
You make me bake. I can try to bake.
Okay.
I went through my pandemic cooking phase, baking phase, and it wasn't too bad, but it's a lot of work cooking for one. I got to get on a better schedule and organization.
Yeah. The sourdough starter stock went
Yeah,
super high in 2020.
Never went through that, but I made croissants during the pandemic because I was hurting with all those bakeries closed.
Sure.
I was like, gotta find a way.
Time. Yeah. What would you say your pastry chef game is like? Is Auntie proud?
Nah. You know, she would be willing to coach me up a little bit.
Gotcha.
You know, I stole some of her recipes for sure. But yeah.
That's right. Like, you always need a mentor. Like, you know.
Exactly.
Like,
I think she'd be happy to support me on that journey.
Yeah. Speaking of which, speaking of mentors, we actually had Nico Chikaris on a couple weeks ago, maybe. I don't remember. A month ago, 2 months ago. I don't know. Time's all whatever. But and he mentioned you specifically as like a veteran presence in the locker room, as like a guy that he would look up to. And what is it like, you know, being now that veteran in the locker room, and even in a new like location, like do you see yourself as like a role model, or do you like actively look to take people under your wing, or is it just like a lead by example type thing, and if they follow you, they follow you?
I definitely take a lot of pride in I wouldn't say taking guys under my wing, because I don't know that I don't want to take away their agency.
Right.
Like they are capable individuals. That's why they got to the level that they're at. I just want to help give them some of the tips that I got as a kid that helped me sustain my career. Yeah, just paying it forward. I had really, really good mentors, role models, people to model my game after on the field, mentally, etc. And I just know that it's a long journey between that first contract and where those kids can get to, which is likely in some cases way further than they even know or than I was ever able to get to, but they have to do the work. And Nico's a great kid. You know, he broke through at a young age, but very humble. And I think that in a lot of ways, San Jose has not been the perfect place for him to grow because of the difficult situations that we've been in over the last couple of years. And I was super mindful of that. I actually pulled him aside at one point and gave him some like harsh advice that, hey, like if X, Y, or Z happens, like you need to make sure that you don't lose sight of who you are and like where you want to be going, because a lot of things could happen along the journey and you don't want to be a part of the pieces that get lost in this shuffle. And I had, a guy like Luis Mabiala who noticed me at a young age and really pushed me to like stay focused, stay locked in, even when I wasn't getting playing time, even when it looked like I was completely on the outside looking in. There were times when he even was fighting battles on my behalf that I would never know until I really had broken through and things were in a comfortable place where we could talk. I had guys like Diego Valeri or Diego Charo who were playing at a pretty old age, relatively speaking, and were continuing to put out just incredible performances. And to see the preparation that they went through, to see how they took ownership of their routine, making sure that if they needed something that was not prescribed to the group, they were getting it. I was able to learn that from them in terms of how they prepared for each and every game, despite the difference in age. I had a guy like Zarek Valentin who I saw what it was like to really connect with every single person in the locker room. Zarek spoke English, spoke Spanish through his Puerto Rican, family. He attempted to understand and learn French through his time in Montreal. He played a little bit there, and then he noticed that he had a lot of French-speaking teammates. DJ, playing every type of music to kind of fit the locker room vibe. And it's the little pieces like that go way beyond what's happening on the field and the quality that he brought to the field that actually holds a locker room together. And I don't think a lot of MLS teams fully understand the value of having guys like that on the team who both perform on the pitch, even though they're not always counted upon as they might deserve, but still show up every day and keep the group united, keep the group moving forward. So what's scary now is that I'm just past the age that Zarek was when I got drafted. And I remember looking at Zarek and I was like, look at this bum old guy. This guy's old.
Come on,
I was like, I know he had played a lot of games the year before, and I know that he was like an established player in the league that was doing well, but I was like, he's old, man. Like by the time I'm his age, like I'm not gonna look like that. And now I'm that age. So when I look at the younger teammates, I'm like, yeah, they definitely look at me as a little bit older than I want to look at myself at.
Because LAFC has veterans presence that World Cup winners, and then they have the young kids like Martinez and Nathan Martinez. I think he's a great player that still needs to grow, still young. I'm liking that he's getting the minutes now because last year I believe we all saw that he has something, but the back, I think it was a back injury that he got last year that took him out the field for a bit. So how do you navigate the locker room when having that presence and you're in the middle of that, like the Lloris, Giroud, and then you have the Nathans, Martinez?
It's good for me. It's really good because the young guys are energetic. They have a point to prove in a way that the older you get in your career, the more you start to play the game to be a professional versus with the raw ambition of a young person who doesn't actually know what it's going to take to kind of stabilize their career. And so you can learn from them in ways that you maybe might have forgotten about yourself. And then with the older guys, I mean, those guys are so experienced, whether you're talking about Olivier or Hugo, or you're also talking about like a guy like Maxime Chanot, who's won MLS Cup, who's a steady presence and a true professional. It just puts me right in the middle where I can still continue to learn from guys who have been there, done that, while also helping some of the young guys and learning from them as well. I think over the last few years, I probably lacked a little bit of the older presence in the locker room, people who could help weather storms in a way that I felt like the responsibility was exclusively on guys who were kind of upper middle age. But again, I was fortunate to have kind of the early upbringing in a very experienced locker room, but also that had players from all ages and talent and, you know, prospect level. So I'm kind of back in that ecosystem right now, and I'm looking forward to kind of just finding a way to execute. You know, you have Olivier and Hugo who have won a World Cup. You have Max who's won an MLS Cup. You've got Aaron who's been a part of really successful teams in MLS. You've got Ryan who's won an MLS Cup here. So, you know, we've got a really strong veteran leadership core that has seen a lot, and, you know, they're continuing to guide us through what's the early part of the season, but what we hope is a long year.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Use our code URBANPITCH, that's one word, no spaces, to get a free pick and up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're going to start playing their Pick'em game, where you can make picks on your favorite players and teams. All you have to do is pick whether they'll go higher or lower than their expected stats. We'll share our picks here and on social media channels, and you can play along with us. Let's make watching sports even more fun with Underdog Fantasy. Yeah, and where do you see yourself fitting in with all of that? Like, how do you, like, when you first arrived, like, when you're like, kind of trying to navigate all of that, like, where do you see yourself fit into the dynamic of the locker room?
Yeah, the first thing I do when I arrive anywhere is just kind of observe. Like, I'll talk, obviously, because A, I'm a talker. B, I think it's important for people to get to know me a little bit. But I kind of find the role that the team needs me to play. And I think that I naturally gravitate towards helping younger players fulfill their potential. And I learn a lot from that about myself. So it's not like I'm doing something for them. I'm doing this for both of us and for the sake of the team and organization. But I do feel as though I find myself in a position to help some of the younger guys, especially based on my minutes fluctuating at the beginning of the year. That means I'm going to be training more. When the training sessions aren't filled with starters on a given day, that means that you're going to train with a lot of the younger guys, and you can really kind of work with them on a more individual basis. And something that I was told as a young player is that, you know, if the older guys or if the coaches aren't talking to you, you've got a huge problem. Because there were times in my career where coaches were either yelling at me or just like being really harsh, but not in a yelling tone. And it's easy to internalize that as a young player. And could the delivery have been better at a given point, whether it was at the end of high school or in college or as a young professional, youth national teams? Sure. But we're all human and we all show up based on who we are on the given day. The problem becomes when they stop talking about you. Yeah. When they stop talking to you, they're just like, all right, we've given up on this guy. This guy, you know, he's going to see his contract out or he's going to see the season out and we're going to get rid of him. And so I try to strike that balance with young players. I want a lot out of them because I see a lot out of them. I see a lot out of Nico. And I know that it's like a new coaching staff for him right now, and he's going to have to navigate that, you know, based on the values that he holds true. But I think he can go very far. And so that led to me being hard on him at times. Sure. You know, there were guys that were hard on me, and you know, it's paid off. So I don't know. Everyone gets coached differently, And I think that as a coach, they recognize that, and as an older presence in the locker room, you also have to recognize that.
Yeah. Indifference is the worst sign that you can get anywhere. Whether it's, I mean, even like when people hate on us in the comments, you know what I mean? It's like
TikTok is mean.
It's because they see greatness in us and they're trying to coach it out of us. You know, that's like the mentality that I have.
There's no such thing as bad press. I mean, there is, but to a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah.
No comments would be even worse.
Yes.
So
So who's running the playlist right now in the locker room? The young kids or the veteran presence?
It's a good question. It's kind of first come, first serve.
Oh, okay.
I do notice that Denis gets on the aux once he gets to the gym a lot, which is good for me because I'm keeping up to date with the French hip hop, French rap.
Yeah.
And normally I wouldn't jump on the aux myself, but if I'm one of the first ones there and I don't feel like the whole team's coming in, I'll find myself there.
Yeah. What are you throwing out? What is it? Some of the mixes that you have?
Yeah, I cater to the crowd.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm usually playing French music as well. It's kind of where I'm going through right now. I'll play some Afro beats too. My like more traditional American hip hop and R&B is just way too slow for the gym.
Right.
Like I'm a slow music guy. I'm like an emotional music guy. Some might say toxic, but I don't know. It's all, music's music.
Was that showing you or Bridget the playlist that I used when I go to the gym? Is
No, you're showing both of us.
Yeah.
This guy has all the slow jams and
all R&B, like late 90s, early 2000s R&B is what I'm playing. I don't know who hurt me, but whoever did, it worked. Because that's the music I'm playing at the gym.
You're emotionally in tune with yourself. That's what it is.
There we go.
It's not sweat, it's tears.
You need the recovery lift. So like your body is pushing, but your mind is actually resting. So I was actually taught that recently. I was like asking, is it smart to do like X amount of work on this day? It's like, it depends on what kind of stimulus you have going on. And if you have some slower music and you're taking your time with it, like sure, why not push your muscle a little bit? Like, okay, yeah, that's what I've been doing this whole time, listening to slow music.
Yeah, okay, that's
And it plus like I like music to work out that I can sing along to, and that's like only music I really listen to. So I was like, I'm having a concert in my head. So it's me singing while I'm on the Stairmaster for no reason.
He's got the noise canceling headphones, so he can't hear it, but everybody else.
One of those guys.
It's my karaoke. Everybody just move out the way.
Noise canceling, like the over-ear noise canceling headphones in the gym is tough, man. Like that couldn't be me.
I can't do that. No, but I have the in, and so my eardrums are just getting. I guess it's bad either way.
Yeah.
I already have tinnitus or tinnitus. I don't know how you say it, but it is what it is. But I'm glad we got into music because I don't think last time we got into music at all. Do you have like separate play? I know you said you have the mostly slower music. Do you have like a pregame playlist that amps you up, or are you more Zen mode? Like what are you listening to going into the stadium?
I listen to something that amps me up. I mean, I listen to in the morning a little bit slower music because it doesn't really matter as much to me. And then as the afternoon goes on and evening rolls around, it's usually like very upbeat Afro rap or French Afro rap. A guy named MHD is on a lot of them. And then recently I've kind of tried to shift away from that. That was a more like previous time in my career, and I'm trying to see if there's something else that kind of jolts me in the right way. So been shuffling a lot through Tiakola, and who else? A lot of Tiakola right now.
Is it MHD or MHD?
I mean, we're in the U.S., so I said MHD, but it's MHD.
Okay, yeah.
Who it's not the most popular right now, but some of the music still works for me.
Still hits, yeah.
And then I like to have some slower recovery music as the night kind of winds down. If I had to say like overall, I'm listening to a guy named Rum Gold. He is just like soulful R&B is how I would describe it. Really like Jacob Banks as well. Kind of a slightly different mold. Sampha is a lot of fun to listen to. Yeah, Sampha's great. So some hits. Just like funky, like R&B, soulful stuff. Like that's where I'm residing.
Cool. That's a good place to be. There's like, I feel like a lot of that, like the 70s soul is kind of like making its way back into some of the newer stuff, which is really cool to listen to. Like, so it's like the cycle of music. Like it's nice to see that back in the mix.
Even El Mean, I don't know if you guys know him.
I don't know.
Yeah, El Mean, he's a British British like R&B singer. And then like in the off season, I'm like when I'm going through my workouts, I'm listening to a lot of like Illmatic is like my album of choice. It's just keeps me running through those like really tough workouts. I'm just like, the song Halftime comes on at the right time. I'm like, we're in the final push. So no, music is definitely, I remember showing my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, and I got a lot of DMs like, yo, you listen to that much music? Like, that's borderline a problem. And so I noticed it, and I started looking at other people's, and I was like, yeah, I do listen to a lot of music. Like, is what it is.
It was like 50,000 minutes, or what's
it? Doesn't really matter. You know, this is we're not rehashing the past, but
who's counting? You know.
No, so now that you're back in the LA, a lot of pressure's put into all our teams just because Lakers just got Luka. The Galaxy just won a championship. LAFC, they always want them to keep on winning. The Dodgers, another championship. Have you felt that pressure from the city yet?
I have not. I think LAFC naturally puts pressure on itself. So when I was talking to the staff before coming in, the theme of the conversation was, what is it going to take to win a championship? Whether they were talking about their expectations and their hopes, or whether I was asking them about like how they were setting the team up in order to fulfill that goal. So obviously we're not happy about the fact that the Galaxy won the recent championship, but at the same time, something that was said to me was that LAFC isn't happy if anyone other than LAFC is winning the championship. And so to have been so close over the last couple of years in a number of tournaments and to have not gotten over the line, I know that that's something that, you know, we as a club really want to get over the hump. And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us in different moments. I know that there are guys who, you know, want their moment to come as soon as possible. We all do, myself included. But we want it to be a long year, and so we just have to be patient. Like, it's a steady grind of a season. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. But if we get too caught up, especially in the lows, like if we get too low when things get low, it's going to make it that much harder of a mountain to climb. And then if we get too high when things are high, then it's just a little bit too short-sighted where we're going to find ourselves peaking at the wrong time and not able to sustain it because we were just too high on our horse. So I just want to be patient and steadfast in our process, knowing that the results are going to come. There are some games earlier on in the year that are more pressure than others, and we have to find a way to execute in those games. Everything else, let's just keep building until the end of the year. Yeah. Always insightful conversations when Jeremy Ebobisse is in the building. So I really appreciate that. But listen, I know we could be here for another hour, but you know, we got things to do. You got things to do. So you got a birthday to celebrate.
I know. So. But listen, we really appreciate it. We can't thank you enough for coming in on Thursday night. You know, you got a busy schedule. Just played on Tuesday. You got a game again on this weekend. So once again, just can't thank you enough, and hope to see more success and a long portion of your career here in LA.
Yeah, we talked to you about the Urban Pitch Boost last time you were on the podcast. Yeah. It took a little while, so that first goal,
there's still boost moments like after that, like
but I'm saying we're gonna take ownership of that goal just because it was the Urban Pitch podcast boost. So okay, you're welcome.
I mean, if y'all give me a boost for the weekend and the Columbus Crew matchup, then you know LAFC I know will be grateful.
Okay, yeah.
We'll send. I'll tell you what. If y'all give us a boost in New York City and in this Columbus Crew matchup, we'll get you some more LAFC players so that we can keep it
going. We had Nathan before too, so that connection right there, the one too.
It was the Urban Pitch Boost connection right there.
Yeah, almost had him against the Rapids too.
Yeah. Listen, thank you again for coming on the podcast. This has been another episode of the Urban Pitch Podcast, a beautiful game of life, part of the Believe Network. For Jeremy Ebobisse, Julio Monterosa, I'm Ramsey Abushala. We'll see you next week.